Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this special called meeting of the Danville City Commission for this evening, Monday, January the 25th, 2021. The hour is 5:30 p.m. and I will call us to order and ask that we be led in a moment of prayer by our newly elected commissioner, Jenny Holland.
Let us pray. We humbly come before you, Lord, and ask that you guide, guard, and direct our hearts, our motives, and the decisions we make, that those decisions will be in the best interest of every citizen in Danville. Lord, we pray for the families and loved ones of the Bull County residents that have passed away from COVID, and we pray for strength, endurance, and good health for our first responders and healthcare heroes as they bravely serve our community. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I will ask that we be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our new city engineer, Josh Morgan. You want to come forward, sir? Front and center. All the way up here. Thank you. Normally we give a little pin with the key to the city, but we think that's, you're good with, yeah, that's right.
Pretty sure he already has the keys to the city.
Commission, I assume that you approved the agenda, unless I hear otherwise. Seeing none, we will move into Hear the Public. This is the public's opportunity to address any item that is on tonight's agenda. There'll be an opportunity later on in the meeting to do likewise on any items that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. City Attorney, glad you could join us.
Thanks, sir.
Are there any comments from the public?
No.
Okay. Then item one under general is proclamation for the National School Counseling Week. Ms. Todd, give me just a minute. Let me get suited up. Thank you for coming tonight. Such a beautiful night.
It's worth it.
It is worth it.
Oh, wow.
This is a proclamation for National School Counseling Week. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents, as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive development school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school, now therefore be it resolved that Mayor G. Michael Parris and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville hereby proclaim February the 1st through the 5th, 2021 as National School Counseling Week in the City of Danville. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. We have a little microphone in case you'd like to add any words of wisdom.
I don't know about words of wisdom, but I'm dedicating this week to all of my school counselor friends across the Danville City Schools and Boyle County Schools, those who serve Kentucky School for the Deaf, and also to all of my good friends across the state of Kentucky. I appreciate the work that you do. What you do does not go unnoticed, and our families, our students appreciate you, and thank you for all of your hard work.
And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Thank
Certainly.
you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too.
You're welcome to stay, but we understand you got a life to live.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the National School Counseling Week proclamation as presented.
Second.
Motion's made by former educator James H. Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Terry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Atkins, would you do us the privilege of doing the next proclamation, sir?
Yes, sir.
You typically have done that in the past?
Do I get paid for doing it tonight?
No, sir. Same as you did last year.
A proclamation in honor of Black History Month 2021. Whereas the month of February has been designated as Black History Month, and whereas the 2021 theme of Black History Month is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity, and February has been set aside for all of us to learn about and appreciate the history and contributions of African Americans and their tremendous effect on America and its way of life. And whereas the Black family has been a topic of study in many disciplines, such as history, literature, sociology, anthropology, and social policy, and whereas its representation, identity, and diversity have been revered, stereotyped, and vilified from the days of slavery to present, and whereas the complexity of the role of the Black family as the foundation of African American life and history can be seen in debates over how to preserve its meaning from a historical perspective, and whereas variations of the Black family can be seen in discussions on the nature and impact of parenting, childhood, and marriage, the family is a rich tapestry of images for exploring the African American past and present. Now, therefore, Mayor G. Michael Parris and the City of Danville Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim on this 25th day of January, the month of February, as Black History Month, and urge all citizens to join in recognizing the importance of Black History Month and the contributions of African Americans, not only in our city, but also in our country, our state, and our nation.
Do I hear a motion for acceptance of the proclamation?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Terry. Your second? You seconded?
Yeah, I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Commissioner Cottle. Sorry, did not hear you.
That's all
Any
right.
discussion?
That word is reverenced?
Reverenced.
Yeah, it means highlighted with importance, okay?
There you go. Any further discussions or comments? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 3 is update from the Boyle County Health Department regarding COVID-19. With us is Mr. Brent Blevins. Welcome, sir.
Brent, you're a heck of a guy, but I'm tired of seeing you.
Me
I'll be
too.
honest with you. I'll be glad we don't have to anymore.
I know it. I'm with you.
He'll be glad when he gets his life back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be glad for all that, every bit of it. All right. Always appreciate you guys. Thank you for letting me have a few minutes to chat with you. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll give you a little bit of data to start out with, just kind of update us where we are. And the one that's most contentious, I know, to most everybody in the public is the 47 deaths, even though I think the state website probably shows 20 or so today. And we fought this for about 7 or 8 months, and I don't know why it's not,
Yeah.
I don't have a great answer anymore to that. 2,939 total cases over almost a year. We're almost to that point here. It was March 1st or middle of March, if I remember right, we had our first case here. Now, the first case in the USA, I believe, was already past the year mark, is what we were doing. 7-day average for Boyle County has been 20. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I'll tell you, after the last 3 months, that is a bit of improvement for us from where we've been. The incident rate is 65.6, considering we were at 148 or something not that long ago. That is a great improvement for us. And just to give you an idea on where we are with vaccinations, and I'm really proud of where this county is. I know today there was a really good meeting with Ephraim, and I think that would be tremendous. if that happens. Been advocating for that for about a month. I know our elected officials have. I know a lot of people in the community. That would be tremendous for this community if they decide to do that. We'll see what the state does on that. To date, just from the health department, we've given 823 total doses. And that's covered, we tried to cover healthcare workers, people in agencies that fit into that, North Point staff, all kinds of people, everybody we could fit into that fit into that HCW standing. And that's how many we've done to date. Now tomorrow, this week is gonna be big. Tomorrow we start with Boyle County Schools. They have 270 doses. Wednesday, Danville Schools, 270 doses. Thrown in the middle of there, I've talked to Jim Ward at DCA. They've got about 11 or 13. We're gonna fit them in. And then on Monday afternoon, we're doing KSD, and I believe their number is at about 46. So I know the community's excited to get them. I know the schools hopefully will get back in session as they can, on a more regular basis. But I'm excited to get them, number one, because that's a big number for us to get done, and I'm glad to get that done and get it finished. But that's where we are with the numbers. If you look at North Point, I looked up their numbers just because I had not done that since last week. They are now at 935. They've had that many active cases in their time period so far. And we vaccinated about 150 of their staff. We're actually already started on the second round of vaccinations for their staff as well as other staff. So we're about 6 weeks into this. We were very fortunate. Ephraim was able to help us out with some of the North Point staff and some of the other agencies. Thank goodness they were a tremendous help for us on that. So that's where we are with a little bit of the data, but also the vaccinations. Now, here's what the state has told me as far as the vaccinations just for the health department. They've given me all or most of the first doses they're going to give me. So now what they're giving me are school. We got those in this morning. Really glad to see those come in the door, and the second round doses now. So that's the phase that we are in. The good thing is, UK, and I know it's a little drive, but they've been giving doses for a while. I talked to another person this morning in the post office who had been to UK, and it was 20 minutes in and out. Super efficient, really easy way to do that. I put a plea out to the community and in particular to the faith-based groups last week. And I specifically asked them to make it a mission, ministry, whatever you want to call it. Help the people in their congregations, in their groups. If they're having problems, going to that link and signing up at UK, figure out a way to help them out. The link is pretty easy, but the truth is some people aren't real great on a computer. There's a phone number, it takes longer. I've encouraged them, even if they have to show up in the parking lot at UK with a wheelchair or somebody needs it, and they get that person out of the car and wheel them in, do whatever it takes, because that's a great opportunity for us to get shots for the people that need them in this community. So I'm really excited about that. I know the 31 mass vaccination centers, they're spread out, and somebody at the state level had to make a decision at some point of where those were going, and they made the decision. I'm glad we've at least got that one, and not only that one, but we've also got Somerset, which is decently close to us. Now, I think last week Somerset ran out of doses on Wednesday, I believe, whereas UK was still able to keep going. So I assume now that Somerset is restocked and started again this week, is my assumption. So that kind of gives you an update of where we've been. The vaccines, thank goodness we got Moderna as well as Ephraim got Moderna. That's the one we preferred. It's much easier for us to handle all the way around, whether it's storing it in the building or whatever. We were fortunate the first weekend we did that. We actually had a police car. They left in our parking lot for 3 or 4 days just because we didn't know. It turned out to be no need, but I was thankful that we had that option to at least have that there just for appearance. But most everybody in the public has been very supportive, and that has been enjoyable to have people actually excited about something over the last year as compared to where we've been. Okay, that's me rambling. Questions? I mean, I can ramble about this for a while, but I'll be glad to answer any questions if anybody has anything.
So an update to an update. Mr. Coffey and I attended a meeting that took place at Ephraim McDowell around 11. large number of people there representing the county, and of course, we were represented, and Secretary Jim Gray joined us about 11:20. And I think there's every intention to make our hospital a regional area. I think the details will be forthcoming on that pretty soon. I want to give kudos to Judge Howard Hunt for taking the time and effort to write a letter, which he asked me to sign along with Mike Wilder, which we did. And the point was made very clearly that of the hundreds and hundreds of emails that he got, he received one paper letter. And I'll let you make of that what you will, but he was here today, and that works. So for you people just thinking email's everything, it's not. It's not. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more details on that. Anything you want to add to that, Earl? No, sir. Okay.
Well,
And I just wanted to clarify for the public watching that this is for Ephraim to become a mass vaccination center, like what they are doing at Commonwealth Stadium or Kroger Stadium.
Yes, some version of that, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
It's big. This is a big deal.
It is a big deal. And one of the good things about the group that came down today, one of our main contacts that I started on probably a month ago was Rebecca Harden, and she was on that commission today, as well as, I believe, Angela Kick, who is also with the state. So those are the people who have that inside track to be able to talk to these people, at the state level and say, here's what we're looking for, here's what we're trying to do here with Ephraim, and that is good. That's a great step. So hopefully we know soon. And what they're going to, so if they're going to do that, how much they're going to supply, because Ephraim can, I would assume, can get on that very quickly.
And that's a decision by the state?
Yes, I think that will come down through the governor's office with
Okay.
input from KYEM, the Kentucky Emergency Management, and hopefully the Department of Public Health with Dr. Stack, who is the commissioner.
Anything else?
Well, just want to say thanks for all that you're doing and for what your department is doing. And we know you have the best interests of our entire community at hand, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank you as well, and especially for not wasting any vaccines. I know it's a challenge with the storage and stuff that other communities have, you've not wasted one as a goal, and I think the community appreciates that, so thank you.
Thanks. That's, probably my number one concern is that we don't have a vaccination for everybody right now. My number two on an everyday is when we get down to the end of a clinic and I've got 4 doses left because people didn't show up or something, and we've got less than an hour to use them, or they go bad. I can't remember last time I was here, we had one lady literally running in the door, removing her arm from her shirt. We had 3 minutes to go before the dose was expired.
Wow.
And we got it into her arm that quick. And I'll just be right up front. It requires me to look in a lot of places to find people quickly. It would be nice if I could just say, all right, I found an 81-year-old that I gave that dose to immediately, and we do try that in every way, but there's sometimes we've got to find an arm. So that's the one thing right now that keeps me up at night, is trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. So, but we'll do it. We're not wasting a dose. It's not going to happen.
Thank you. And as always, if there's anything we can do to help you, please do not hesitate to call.
I appreciate that. I've said this many a time. I'm blessed to be in a community like this because I could call on city, county, anybody I need any moment, and people step up. And not every county has that, and I realize that.
Well, we appreciate you.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Everybody good? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks. Item 4 is an update from Mr. Rob Coel concerning the airport and the board. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. I heard some people got some mouse pads, and that's good. Did everyone get a copy of the? Okay, so I won't try to go over all this again for you. appreciate it. And anybody that didn't get a copy that wants one, let us know, and we'd be glad to get it to you. So, yes. Well, thanks for inviting me up here. And I was going to try to catch him before he disappeared, but we were trying to, the board, the community board last fall, trying to decide what we were going to do with activities at the airfield, trying to remain compliant. And Mr. Blevins was kind enough to come out and really spend a lot of time with us, because I know that you all probably face this too, but there are people that have a different approach to what safe and social distancing is, and he did a really nice job of helping those people understand, and they sort of backed down, and we weren't in a position of, saying no to something that we really shouldn't do because someone was pushing really hard. So it was nice. We know he's busy, and so the fact that he took time out to come out there, and thank you all for letting me get up and tout the airport in front of you. And as Stuart Powell would say, I'm here to talk about your airport. So, and to that effect, I think what I'll do that may be of value to you is just talk about how structurally we as a board are trying to address the needs of the airport and the community. And to that effect, and you all voted to add 2 more members to our board, so we have now expanded from 6 to 10 members at the airport, which is a pretty good sized board for a small airfield. But to be honest with you, when you got the kind of shoes to fill that we've had, the 6 to 10 was good. And I'm not going to say we're there, but at any rate, we're working on it and making great progress. And one of the reasons, once we formed or had the 10 members, we decided to kind of reorg the board, and based on some of our training that we have had provided by Mr. Dexter about what we're allowed to do in meetings, or what would need to be, a public meeting, we decided to form not committees but working groups. And these are not a quorum, but folks, because there's lots of issues that were coming up through the month, and I know Stuart Powell spent about 8 to 10 hours a day working on it himself. But there's really more than there was when he was there now. And so we've formed these working groups. And the first working group that we have is called the Governance Working Group. Bart Gover's leading that group, and he is an airport planner. We're fortunate to have him on our board, and he's helping us to update our minimum standards, and that's just the document that we utilize so that people that want to have a business on the airfield, understand the regulations there to follow, and he's about to complete that. And the next step in the governance group will be to take on our leases to update them and modernize them some more. And so that group's moving along pretty well. We have the construction and maintenance group, and as you saw in the brochure that I gave you, we were fortunate enough to receive $3 million from the state of Kentucky last year, which was no small chunk of change. And so we did that 1.5-inch overlay on pretty much the whole airfield, and in addition to that, added the concrete ramp. And all the while, that group was in charge of taking care of the maintenance of the field. And I'm proud to say that if you were to drive out there at any point last year, I would say you thought it looked almost like a golf course. So we're real proud of that fact too. And then we have the Treasury group, who's right in the middle of an audit with a new auditor. And so you can appreciate how busy they are at the moment. And since it's the first time this particular firm has audited the airfield, and so I can assure you, you're getting a really good audit. And so the marketing group, they get to have all the fun. Patty Powell's leading that group. And the first thing they did, in addition to this newsletter that you saw, was redo our logo, which you got to see that also. And from there, then they've moved on, and they're working on the sign, the entrance sign, as you go into the airfield. We're going to try to modernize that, and they've already gotten 3 quotes and working on that project. Once they finish that, one that's kind of near and dear to me is that when Stuart did pass away, there was just an unbelievable amount of information that he's collected over the years and what other people have related to the airfield. And so we're going to try to write a history book. And hopefully it'll be something that, you know, we can have some up here at City Hall and out at the airport. And so that people can understand that in 1939 that a Ford Trimotor landed here and President Roosevelt's wife got off the plane to meet him over in Harrodsburg for the, I believe it was the dedication of the Frontier monument that's over at the Fort Herod, and for the Americans, the expanded frontier. And so, but it just goes, you know, it just goes on, and I think we'll think it'll be a fun book for everyone to read through, and people that want to know more about Danville and our history will be able to access. And so, of which Stuart would have known every page, you know, by heart, and been able to recite everything down to the penny as to what happened, but we're going to need to put it in a book. Moving on to the airfield, we call them the Community Board, but they're an eclectic group. When I took over the board, you know, when we sat back and thought about what issues are going on the airfield and what we can do, there are now 6 entities on the airfield, at least 6 entities. So when we think about it, we've got Air Evac, which is the life-saving helicopter service. That not only do they have the folks that are flying the helicopter, but they've got 35 folks that are providing maintenance for this part of the United States on their helicopters, and they've just transitioned from one model to another, and that's added more work for them, and they're hoping at some point to expand, and so we've already started working on that with them. The Wings Flight School, I just saw on Facebook this weekend where another airplane was added to their fleet, and you can't go out there when the weather's decent enough for a flying lesson that there's not somebody taking off and landing out there. And so it's just amazing what those folks are doing, and they have some facility expansion needs that we're talking to them about to try to be ready to meet their needs out there. We've got Lafayette Engineering that has 2 jets that are in and out of the airfield and buying fuel. They really helped us through this COVID situation in that everybody was shut down for a month or so, but once they got back going, you know, that having a private jet to get around and conduct, you know, business around the country was a real benefit to them. In addition to that, First Southern Bank in Lincoln County, their jet has been running pretty actively through the summer, fall, and winter. And so moving over to the Civil Air Patrol, they've kind of had a rough go of it because of the CAP. They're not meeting in person, they're meeting online. And so as we all know with the schools and you know that the electronic meetings are not nearly as meaningful as the in-person, but I know that they're looking forward to getting over on the backside of all this, as we all are. And so, and then we have Hammond Aviation, which is Father Bill Hammond and son Nate Hammond, who is our Skyrider, called the Ghost Rider, because most of his show is performed at night, as you saw in some of the pictures in that brochure. And he's been affected by the COVID also, but already booking shows for this year starting in the summer. And so, and then we have what we call our local bums, just all of us that own a small airplane that are active on the airfield. And so with this community board group, you know, we're able to keep those folks connected. And then the other half of what we've tried to do with the community board as a goal is to start providing better outreach and get the word out there so that all of you all know that it is your airport and that you'll utilize it and that you know when we're holding events. And you know, that said, it's been pretty dry the last few months for the obvious reasons. However, we've already started talking about when we're hoping the first weekend or second weekend in October to have what we call the EAA, or Experimental Aircraft Association, Fly Day, and that's where members of the EAA and those of us that have taken answered the questionnaire and gotten certified to fly young folks, because these are people from 7 to 17, and so only pilots that have been checked out by EAA to, to make sure if they're going to be flying with these people's children, everything is acceptable. And we're hoping to do that the second weekend in October again. But the previous 2 years, we had over 110 people each time that we were able to take up for free flights and introduce them to aviation. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take several people up, and it's just amazing to see their eyes get like silver dollars and how much they really enjoy that. And so we're hoping to do that again this fall. And in addition to that, on that day, we'll have a food truck and rides for a fee that the flight school offers, and then various booths out there. So we're hoping to get back and open to the public. One other thing I'd like to point out about our working groups is that we have, in addition to your appointed board that you all have provided for us in the county, we have volunteers that are interested in the airport and have been coming to the meetings and actively participating. I can honestly tell you that the formation of the working groups on our board, and then the 2-day sessions that we had to bring everybody up to speed with the 4 new members, a lion's share of that effort was completed by Jamie Payton, who's now our tourism director, but she helped us last year do that, and she'll be helping us with our community board to make sure that we pick dates that don't conflict with other things going on in the community, and she's been a lot of help, and I really appreciate that. And so I'm excited to have the opportunity to share that with everybody. And in addition to that, we've got Bill Hammond, who's retired, that was in aviation, and he's on that community board. And Dalton Sutherland with Farmers National Bank has been sitting in on a couple of the committees, the Treasury Committee and the Governance Committee. And so, that's it. I'm getting the word out there that people that want to be involved in the airport in whatever way you enjoy the airfield or want to be involved with it, we invite you. There's a place for everybody. And so even though there's a big chain link fence around it, there's lots of gates and everybody's welcome. So, am I doing okay on time?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we recently
Yeah,
formed.
we're used to Stewart, so you're doing really well on time.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep it moving along. I'm almost through the working group. We have just formed what we call the Facility Expansion Working Group, because we'd very much like for there to be a aviation maintenance technician school on the airfield at some point. We've got our flight school and our air evac, our customers that are thinking about more room, and then we've got space that if individuals, because there's almost a 20-person waiting list for hangars out there, we've got private individuals that would be willing to build a hangar. And the way that works with the FAA is that they would build that hangar and it would be owned by the airport. However, they would be able to recoup their investment over a period of 20 years in the way of forgiveness of trading off the lease. And so it's pretty regulated by the FAA, but we would be in compliance, and we've got some people that are wanting to do that. And so we have formed what we call our Facility Expansion Working Group, and we've got Shay Pendergraph and Doug Gooch out of Stanford, along with Patrick Bersati, that's the assistant county attorney, and Glenn Ball working on that. And so the other one is the Personnel Working Group, and we all know what they do. And so I think that sums up most of what I wanted to tell you about the airport. Any questions?
Any questions?
I do have 2 other comments.
Yes, sir.
Not quite related to the airport, but I'd like to make is one. I'm just so excited when I saw in the paper where you had picked up 2 new engineers, and I don't know, would you be the second? No? Okay. I don't know the second engineer, but I do know the first one, and kudos to you all for getting Josh back in Danville, and I'm just excited because you've got a lot that you manage, and it's really good to see you bring in some talent. So thank you for that. And then secondly, I know the city facilitated and assisted. We'd been asked about 5 years ago to provide an easement through our farm to connect Hughes Lane and Corporate Drive in the way of a trail connector. And so with a little bit of help from the city and KU, and we were able to get that in. And I must say, watching people that are, it's only 1,700 feet, but just to show you how important trails are to the community. People are coming out and parking at the end of the road and walking that thing. And there's not a day goes by, well, I won't say the day, but at any rate, 99% of the time, I can look down across my field and somebody's going across through there. It's interesting how it's worked out, because even though we have a park, places for people to take bicycles for young kids that they just don't want to get them out on the road, but they want to get them someplace different. You know, I'm seeing a lot of that out there. Grandparents bringing grandkids out, and we happen to be out on my walks and seeing, it's just so much fun to see that, and the folks that are going up and down the trail. So as you all continue with your trail initiative, all I can say is if there's anything I can do to help, I'm more than happy to, because if we want to plan for the future, that facility, you know, cannot be understated. So, and when I was a striping contractor, I enjoyed putting markings for bike lanes on roads. But I can tell you, as a cyclist and a pedestrian, that's great. But what we'd really like to see is a dedicated path, and so that the multi-use trails are just tremendous. So thank you all for supporting it.
Thank you for those kind comments.
Is that it?
Any further questions or comments?
Thank you.
Okay.
Seeing none, thank you, sir. Item 5 is the approval of the minutes of the previous meetings, January the 7th and January the 11th. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Holland. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Cottle. Any discussion, corrections?
I was just waiting to vote no because she made the motion, but no.
If there's no corrections,
We're honoring.
all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Break her in.
Excuse me. Item 6 is the first reading of ordinance number 1959. This is with respect to the public moratorium on public art.
I'll make the motion to start. I move for approval of first reading of ordinance 1959, which I guess, do you have to read that? Actually?
Let's do the first, then the second. Is that
Second.
okay?
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Cottle, second by Mr. Terry. Now, Ms. Rader, you want to read that?
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1959, an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on applications for certificates of appropriateness pertaining to public art in the historic overlay district under Chapter 4 Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 7 Historic District, Section 4-177 of the City of Danville Code of Ordinance, pending the adoption of revised guidelines for public art.
That was impressive.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Dexter, anything you want to add to this?
I was just going to add a clarification that the moratorium is for a period of 6 months or until the adoption of design guidelines for public art, whichever is earlier. So should the DAHB issue its guideline recommendations to you and they are approved prior to the 6 months, then the moratorium will be lifted at that time.
Do we know where we are on that at all?
At the last meeting, which I attended, they were basically down to a singular issue. And that singular issue was what size is appropriate? And does the size vary based upon what side of the structure it's on or not? And, or is there a size restriction? Does it all just come down to, quote, unquote, what is appropriate? So they had a considerable amount of thought into if it should be regulated in the manner that signs are, by a particular amount of square footage based upon the overall size of the facade it's being placed upon, or some randomly selected number that may be appropriate. And communities do it all over the place. So there was no uniformity at all. It was very community specific. And so I think they were trying to take some time to do some due diligence on their part to think about and to view what would be appropriate for Danville's historic overlay district. Not an easy task,
No,
by the way.
No. I'm glad they're taking their time and doing the research. That's great.
I said, let Josh decide.
Any
myself.
further questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cottle,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Paris.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 7 is resolution number 2021-01-25-01. This is a relief program called the Danville CARES Small Business Relief Program. Do I hear a motion for the resolution and a second, then we'll get into discussion?
I move for approval of resolution 2021-01-2501.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Holland. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, the ladies.
We are in discussion.
Would you like
Let
to
City
do that,
Manager give an
Mr. City
overview.
Manager?
We, this was developed with Ms. Lester, who spent a lot of time on the language and a lot of time on the application and details. But the premise, the concept is that we dedicate $150,000 of the CARES Act money that we have received to date for small business relief, particularly those affected bars and restaurants and gyms, for example, or the qualified businesses outlined in the proposal, up to $5,000 grant, and it is total grant money out of the CARES money received by the city. So that is about as succinctly as we can say it and outline it. Do you have anything, Bridget, that you care to add, really?
I think it's important to note that you didn't just pull these businesses out of the air. These are the ones that were affected by the governor's executive order.
That
Correct.
directly affected, directly impacted, yes.
And where and when can they apply?
Right.
Can start applying February 1st, and we'll take applications through February 26th.
Where do they get the application?
They can pick one up at City Hall. We'll have it on our website available for download. They can stop by my office and pick one up, or the city manager's office, any of those places they can get it.
So we'll do a press release after, if approved, and we'll try to communicate that outwardly and make it available.
I'm thrilled about this. Thank you very much. It's good use of that CARES money.
Yes.
Thank you.
Call for the question, please.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Bridget.
Thanks, Bridget.
Item 8 is City Manager's Report. Mr. Coffey?
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. I really don't have a lot to add other than to point out that the retreat for Thursday, we are going to schedule it for 2 p.m. in this room, and the city clerk and I will work on the agenda tomorrow and publish that. And certainly if there's anything else, the agenda is fairly heavy that is giving you some updates on some projects. So we will allow the agenda to speak for itself unless you all have a question.
It's 2 o'clock Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it's continuing our discussion about economic development.
It's a retreat. It's really the last February 6th, you all had a commission retreat. It's really a preliminary budget retreat. We're going to try to get oriented since we do have some new staff and some new initiatives really that we're working on. So we'll talk about the list of objectives y'all had last year. We'll talk about some items of interest and it's not necessarily an EDA meeting or workshop for economic development in and of itself, although I'm sure we will talk about that a little bit at some point. Be fairly short, be an hour and a half. It will not be the full first budget retreat like we talked about. It's really orienting ourselves as we get into the budget season and try to focus ourselves because of COVID and because of the other issues that we've had to face this year, we feel like that getting oriented to begin the process will help.
All right, sir, thank you.
So it'll basically be open just to the commission and to staff then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll move into that section called
That'll be streamed though,
It
right?
will be live
Yeah,
streamed,
yeah.
that's correct. Yeah.
We'll move into the Hear the Public. This was the public's opportunity to ask any question about any item that is not on tonight's agenda.
I just received one. We have a comment from Wilma Brown. She wants to clarify, Mr. Blevins was saying about receiving COVID vaccine at the University of Kentucky Vaccination Center. She said it's not as simple as indicated. A person must first register online and then wait for an appointment, which might be weeks, as indicated by the online registration form. I've been waiting for 2 weeks to receive notification of an appointment. I will be given some preference because I'm 76 years old and have one medical problem. Still, I'm waiting. Also, when I receive an appointment, I still have to make my way to Lexington. This is not efficient. It is great that so many in our community have been vaccinated, but the general public has yet to be helped with this. Hopefully, Efren McDowell will be designated as a regional center, which should be of help to us. Meanwhile, most people I know are in a bit of panic waiting for word of vaccination. Please do not lose sight of the big picture.
Very good. Thank you, Wilma. We miss you.
Pies and all, right?
We will move on into commissioner comments. Ladies first.
I just wanted to offer if anyone would like some assistance, I would be glad to help you sign up. If you want to call me, call Ashley, she can call me. I would be glad to help anyone who has trouble signing up and, doesn't know how to use the internet very well.
Signing up
I'd be
for?
glad to help
Signing up
for the vaccinations.
Okay, gotcha.
And also, I would be glad to get the application to the small businesses if anyone needs assistance with that.
You gonna take us to Lexington?
I would drive you to Lexington, yeah.
All right.
Mr. Atkins, anything you want to add?
Well, I just want a shout out for ITS. They got involved with our ML King celebration. Didn't find out till Thursday, and along with staff, Earl included, they rallied around a group of citizens, and Friday afternoon, really about less than 24 hours, we were able to pull together an ML King celebration that, last time I checked, over 400 citizens had gone to the site to watch it. But I just want to say thanks because it was a scramble because non-ITS folks get involved in stuff and forget about copyright laws and protections. And these guys are on top of stuff, and they really steered us in the right direction, and we were able to get it done. And then, of course, our clerk and our attorney both gave input and direction, so it became, I just want to say thanks because I just felt, man, we got to do something. We can't let our community, because we've been doing this since Ronald Reagan first signed the proclamation. There was, every year's had some kind of celebration. It was important for me for us to do it again. So I want to thank you guys and ladies for cooperating.
Commissioner,
Mr. Cottle?
I appreciate that comment. And I just wanted to say additionally, I think that manner or that episode was indicative of the relationship that should transpire between a commission and its government.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You create a vision,
yeah.
and
Right.
you seek the input from a competent staff
Yeah.
who can help facilitate it
Yeah.
within the confines of what's
Yeah.
appropriate from a structural standpoint. And it was achieved
Yeah.
quickly. And I think you're seeing more evidence of speed and efficiency in that manner currently, too. I mean, the city manager's not seeking any comment from me tonight on this, but that was impressive. Not alone that one instance, but the small business relief package that was presented before you tonight. I don't know of a time where the city has acted that promptly to the needs and vision of a commission. And I don't say that lightly. I'm saying it with significance, to be able to implement it and then to have people get on board quickly and make it happen. I think you're seeing the staff go to work quickly on some items. It's impressive, frankly.
Well, and what I failed to say is that I came from home to City Hall as advised to see the city manager to start the discussion. And I think that's why it was. The successfulness was because the city manager took the lead away from the commissioner, and that was the right approach. And I never felt left out of anything, but he just sort of took the lead with staff, and that really got us headed in the right direction.
All I say is, amen.
Mr. Cardle?
He trained me well, right?
Anything? I want to share with you all a letter, dear Mayor and Commissioners. Your expression of Christmas spirit toward the fiscal court was such a thoughtful gesture, and we greatly appreciate your kindness. The renewed spirit of collaboration between the City of Danville and the Boyle County Fiscal Court has energized us, and we acknowledge all of the efforts made by the city to encourage an atmosphere of cooperation between our two governments. We are committed to fostering a renewed partnership, and we look forward to working together on many endeavors in the future.
Very good.
You gonna
That's
pass
a
that
couple of
around?
letters they've sent. Have we sent them one? Have we sent them a letter as well?
We
Saying
gave them-
appreciate their,
They all signed it.
A letter appreciating their letter?
no. Yeah, this is government, so you do that, but no. I was thinking more appreciate
was a good
their
comment.
spirit of cooperation.
Yeah, and you know, that letter was from a little bit of ham we gave each of them. That's what brought that about. But today was another good example. Well, no, kudos to Judge Hunt for writing the letter, which got Secretary Gray's attention. And I appreciate him calling and saying, would you like to sign this? Absolutely,
Yeah,
he did.
that's great.
Yep.
Way it should be.
I want to take a minute and read something that I think is important. Every now and then you find something in the newspaper that is actually makes sense. So this is interesting commentary. After Donald Trump was elected in 2016, I wrote the most important task for people, particularly those disconcerted by his election, was to focus on things closer to home. Community, family. We spend untold amounts of time obsessing over what goes on in Washington, D.C. and who is in charge, when most of what matters and affects our lives on a daily basis occurs within our households and neighborhoods. While our attention and worries are focused on the big, headline-making events of the day, our actions and efforts should be concentrated on the local, the things that we have the power to change. Of course, that includes local government, city council, county judges, school board. And if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of percolating on these fronts. It's these offices and agencies that will determine your property tax rate, how long you'll be required to wear a mask indoors, and what your kids learn or don't learn in school, and where school takes place for that matter. You should know who is running, what issues animate their candidacies, and how they plan to confront potential policy challenges before them. By getting involved, and most importantly, by voting, you'll get to help guide local policies. If you still feel paralyzed by fear, remember that the competency of your local police chief is more relevant to your safety and security than who has been appointed Attorney General or Secretary of Defense. If you still feel angry with your fellow citizens, you might consider that your relationship with your neighbor is more important than your latest exchange with any number of virtual acquaintances on Facebook or Twitter. And never forget that your daily encounters with your family and the home environment you create for your kids will impact their lives more profoundly than anything that occurs in Washington. Peace begins at home, after all. It's undeniable that the pandemic has made family and community life more difficult. We've been instructed not to gather with our families and friends. We've been told to view everyone with suspicion. We've gone almost a year without the regular, casual encounters that remind us of the goodness all around us. We've been pent up, and we've spent far too much time online and far too little investing in our communities. America's communities are great places to live, and it's up to us to keep it that way, regardless of what is happening in Washington. I hope that's a shared perspective.
That is very good.
Danville paper?
This came out of Lexington paper.
Oh,
Stay tuned. I got one more next meeting.
not the copy.
And so you heard on the vaccine. We'll see how that transpires. That's all I've got. Anything else? Seeing not, we'll move right into item 9, financial bill list. Do I hear a motion to approve the bill list?
I'll offer a motion to approve the bill list as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Holland. Discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 10 is an update and presentation by Nick Warren, our IT department head. Nick?
Good evening. I was sitting back there going through this, and I realized I kind of got a little long-winded in this report, so I'm going to pick a few items, go over if there's any you wanted me to elaborate on, I will. Last September, we initiated a new support ticketing system, which is internal to city staff. Allows anyone to submit via online or email support requests directly to our staff. We prefer this method because it gets it to all 4 staff at one time instead of somebody calling one specific person, them only having knowledge of that. It also allows us to document our processes as we go through. So if you look at your statistics page, we started out the first month with 56 tickets, closed 49, and you can see we've each month since then increased not only our tickets and closures, but our response time. We've really worked to get that almost cut in half, so.
Wow.
I think we're getting about as efficient as we can, but we'll always try to do a little better. And I'm sure as more staff picks up on it, our numbers will go up as well. Second item I wanted to go over is starting tomorrow morning, we will go live with our new service request system. If you look behind you there, I'll give you a kind of a quick preview of what it'll look like. If I turn the pointer on, it does help. It allows staff, citizens, anyone to submit and track requests for service. You can do so with your iPhone or Android app. It allows you to take a picture, use your GPS to automatically populate location data. The users have an option to create an account to keep track of all their request history. If they don't want to, they can submit anonymously. If you do have an account and you track your request, you can comment on your request and engage with staff until your request is completed. And then, of course, you'll have an overview of it's a map of all the requests in the city, not just yours, but, of course, there's no personal information, but if I make a request and you're going to make for the same pothole, for example, you can see it's already out there. The iPhone app will look like this. It's what they call a white label app, so it's got our branding on it entirely all the way through. It's not a shared app with any other agency. Doing this allows us to streamline the onboarding of new users. They don't have to search for our agency or any of that. It's automatically there. They just create their account and go. There's the Android version. It's all similar. Everything works just the same. This is the Citizens Portal, the map view I told you about. You can see over there all of the ongoing requests and also on the map. The dots mean different things, whether they've been acknowledged, they're open, closed. This is what a citizen will see when they complete the request and allow them to interface with staff and submit comments and additional photos, anything else they need to follow up. This is the staff portal. This is where we'll go in, keep track of all of our ticket history. We have some SLAs or service level agreements built in that if we don't respond within so much time, it'll prompt us again, and keep doing it until we at least acknowledge or complete the ticket. This is what is called a call taker's view or a ticket status view with inside the city. We will have this to our people that answer the phone so that as residents call in and they don't want to go online for whatever reason to put in a ticket, they can still get put in, and we can track them and have analytics to use against that. These are QR codes. I don't know if they'll work through the projector or not, but if you want to download the app, you can shoot that with your camera and it'll automatically take you to the App Store to get the app. And we'll obviously have all this posted to the website. There's a new button just went live right before the meeting, says service request, and we'll be putting out some press releases and doing some advertising through social media starting tomorrow. The goal is to try to hit this every week and get as many people as we can on it. And, you know, the more we can track I think the better we can use those numbers to tell us where service needs to go.
So what is the actual name of the app again?
So it's called Danville, Kentucky. It's just our name.
You just go to your,
You can go to App
store
Store, Google Play
and-
Store, and search Danville KY, and it'll come up with our app. Should be the first response.
and then, and you may have said this, if you submit something, are you notified then when it
Yes,
is?
as long as, if you create an account and you do not submit it honestly, yes, you will be notified every time we make a change or the staff puts a public comment out there. If you don't, unfortunately, there's no way for us to notify you because we don't have an email address or phone
Right.
number, so. But we didn't want to take the I hate this word, anonymity out of it. I hate that word, I never get it right. But we want to allow people to submit it honestly, because a lot of people, they still today don't want to give their contact information, but
Right.
they're still legitimate requests that need to be made.
So when someone calls me to say, there's a pothole on whatever,
Absolutely, point them there.
I can say, go to your apps,
Absolutely.
and all you have to do is put in Danville, Kentucky. You can submit. I'm happy to do that,
Yep.
you know, on my end, but,
Yeah, and I would prefer send them to the app, one, because you have a camera built in, you have
Right.
GPS built in. That's two
and,
steps
and
that
it
you
gives
don't
a
have to-
track.
Exactly.
You're able to track it, and
Exactly, so.
So I guess this will document, so if there's an issue that continues to come up, even if it's been corrected and those types of things, there's a
Absolutely, and,
history established.
We can set up pre-defined canned reports that automatically kick off weekly, monthly, however any department head chooses to do it for their area. And it will keep track of all of our analytics, so.
So you don't have to submit a picture,
You don't have to, you can.
but you do have to use the GPS?
No, you can.
You don't?
I'm gonna probably, I have to get back with on that one. I don't know if you can skip the location. I think it depends on the request, because some locations, they obviously, you have to have a request in order to service.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's looking on
So
their
it may be
Okay.
by the request type, but I don't know for sure on that.
Okay, okay.
This is
Very
great,
cool. I
man.
can't wait to use it.
Because I tell people, go to the website and do the exact same thing, but this is going to be,
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be great.
The goal is to simplify it so that we get more requests and
Yeah.
gives us a way to get some numbers and data behind it.
A lot of times people reach out and they'll send you a complaint and then you send it to somebody else and then
Right.
you send it to, so this short circuits all that communication. The person just instead of calls you, they call the app and it automatically goes to the end user endpoint for the service and then they get updated. So it hopefully is more efficient at middle.
Yeah.
So to be clear, you go to the City of Danville's opening page, and then you come down to city website, or you guess you can go to the city website directly, and then you come down to service request.
You can, but if you're in the
Yeah.
app,
Oh,
there should
yeah.
be a plus right in the very center. You can just start your request right in there, and you don't even have to go through the front page there.
Ah,
Let me go back one more there.
yeah, I see that.
Yep. There's also a notices section. We haven't really talked about it at staff yet, but we can submit some notices through there, and anybody who has the app installed will get the notice. So
Oh, that's
obviously, the
even
more people
better.
we can get in
Yeah.
it, the greater audience will hit there.
So even if you aren't reporting anything, you will get
You can still get
notifications
some-
by making a profile?
You can, yeah. We haven't talked about what notifications are appropriate for which medium yet, because there is the code red system already within the counties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to create, we would rather as many people sign up for notification as possible. And right now, everybody's steering towards the code red. So that's successful. So we're willing to rely on that, but at some point, we can also exploit this as a different alternative.
And if you'll notice on the, what I'm gonna call the splash page, which is the view all the way to the left, those links you see there, we can change those out and where they go to at any time. And once we do it, next time the app loads, it changes those out. So I think we've got about, if you look, there's about 6 of them out there right now. But we can change those out at any time. For example, if we did another citizen survey, it'd be a great place to put a link to it. Or for example, maybe even your application for your CARES Act.
But if I wanted to complain about Commissioner Cottle, that's not going to help me, right?
There's an other section in there. You put it into there.
There's another app for that, right?
He would say that's the junk box.
Yeah, that's called it the
instead.
trash section, that's right.
You missed me, didn't
I'm
you?
just sitting here minding my own.
Next thing I want to touch on is going to be another public-facing item coming out here soon. It's Civic Rec. That's going to be our parks management software that we're in the process of installing right now. The park staff is working very diligently right now, getting all their programs and resources and courses and leagues and memberships and concessions and everything all pre-populated in there. I don't know the exact go-live date, but I want to think it's March, maybe late March or, there we go. Matt's been heading up that project, so, but it will be an online presence. You'll be able to register for courses online, pay for courses, I should say, leagues, programs, all that. Pay for them online, register online. I believe they're already doing credit card out there, but they'll have that as well, and you can pay through the application as well. I think they got left just basically a little bit of data entry and some training, and they should be live here soon. Final thing I'll discuss is once the new logo or branding is completed, we're going to begin redesigning the website from top to bottom, not only look but content as well. We really need to get that refreshed and get it a little more user-friendly, I think. So that's going to be our next big projects to get started on, but that'll.
What's your timeline on that?
I don't know on the branding. We are actually starting the paperwork tomorrow. My goal would be April, May, hopefully to have it live. I can't commit to that yet, but that's my goal at this point. If there's any others you'd like me to go over, I will. I kind of got a little long-winded making my report.
The app is awesome. I'm so glad to see the city have an app. And thank you for, providing a user-friendly sign-up for Parks and Rec. I think that's going to really increase numbers and be just so easy to see what's going on.
Yeah,
So
that was our
thank
goal this year,
you.
is to really make our online presence a little more friendlier and get as much out there as we can.
I know I've asked you this before, and I think the commission would benefit from your answer. So we all have read about communities that have been attacked and their data has been held hostage. And they demand a large sum in ransom. How are we protected on that?
So we handle that in multiple areas. The first thing we do is something called network segmentation. So we have a rather large network here, but we break it down into smaller manageable chunks. The best example I can give is dispatch, police, and fire. They share a similar set of hardware, but they're isolated from each other. One, for security reasons, we don't want firemen looking at police reports and vice versa, but also if we do have a small outbreak, it isolates it to that one area. It doesn't allow it to hop into the financial system or another department's area. Second thing we do is we run antivirus, anti-malware, and anti-ransomware software. This year, we are also going to include a new component of that in the next budget for ransomware recovery, that in the event we do happen to have something get through, this system keeps snapshots of all of our machines and allows us to just simply restore an image back. We've replaced all our firewalls this year. In doing that, we're reworking our rules on what's allowed in, what's allowed out. We take a standpoint that basically nothing gets in unless we originated the traffic, meaning if we didn't send it out, it can't come back in. By doing that, it limits some things you can do, but it's, in the long run, it's one less hole in the system, it's one less thing you gotta look at, and, backups, we fully automate that. You know, in the event you do have an issue, you need a solid backup solution. That's automated nightly. It's sent to a redundant location every night. Just to give you an example, on an average week, we back up 3.5 terabytes of data. So that's, I'm going to say several hundred of your phones combined, if you filled them up. That's 3,500 gigabytes, if that's a better term for you to know. And that's data we back up every week. It's everything from cruiser footage to financial data to 911 data to surveillance inside the city hall. Another thing we do is physical security. We have access control on all the secure areas, or all the what we deem high security areas, which is going to be your financial department, server rooms, armory, evidence storage, stuff like that. We also run full HD video surveillance that's logged for, I want to think, 60 or 90 days retention on that. So there's a lot of things we do. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting something, but it's an ongoing thing. It never stops. You know, we do one thing, something changes, we change to that, conform to that. So you guys recently promoted one of my technicians, James, to network administrator. I thank you all for that. That's helping a lot. He's going to be our dedicated network security guy. That's going to be his deal, is keeping this all moving along as best we can.
Any other questions?
Appreciate you guys
Thank you, Nick.
behind the scenes.
Yep.
We hide downstairs. We're pretty good at it.
That's all right.
Thanks, Nick.
Item 11 is the resolution 2021-01-25-02. This is in regards to the sewer flushing machine surplus. Mr. Morgan, floor is yours. You need to get an engineer to show you that?
There we go. I got it. First time. Sorry.
How many engineers does it take to turn your microphone on?
Yes, thank you all. So this is something that staff was working on before I started, but it's a pretty simple one. We had a sewer flushing machine that was slated to be surplus at our next sale, and we were approached by Lincoln County Sanitation District to purchase it for $1,000, and we feel like that amount is acceptable, and we would ask that you all approve the sale of that flushing machine to them.
Do you hear a motion?
Move for approval of resolution 2021-01-2502.
Thanks,
Second.
Commissioner Cardle. Thanks, Commissioner Terry, for your second. We're in discussion. So what are you replacing this machine with?
It was already replaced years ago.
Okay.
It has been in storage. We saved it as a backup, and at this point, we had asked it to be declared surplus for the disposition of it, and Lincoln County stepped up and said they'd like it.
Any further questions?
Could we request that this be taken by Commissioner Cardle's house on the way to Lincoln County?
Yes. It's all right. Appreciate it, though.
You want a gift wrap, right?
Yeah.
See, if there's no further constructive comments, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2021-01-25-03. This is Kentucky Legal Road Aid Formula Support. Mr. Morgan, yours, please.
Yes, this is a resolution asking for support to the Kentucky legislature to modernize the road aid fund. As you can see, the handout that we provided discusses how, as roads have become more urban, the formula hasn't followed that trend to the extent that it should have. So a much higher percentage of funding goes towards rural roads than respectively to urban roads that it should. That's compared to the usage. So this is just, this is supported by KLC and Kentuckians for Better Transportation. It's something they're gonna take forward to the legislature to try to get this modernized. So that's, we're asking to this resolution to support them in that process.
Do we hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Thank Commissioner Cardle, thanks Commissioner Terry. We are in discussion.
So this is supported by a long list of entities that advocate for cities and counties and transportation and any spectrum of transportation. So I just wanted to note that it has a lot of support from different groups.
But this has nothing to do with the reformulation of the gas tax, correct?
It only to the extent that it encourages the state to dedicate more revenue and to increase revenue for road funding.
Do we have any indication as to the chances of this passing or not passing?
Not yet, not at this time.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 13 is Resolution 2021-01-25-04. This is a contract amendment with respect to our Central Fire Station consultant. Again, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, this is we're asking to increase our design contract with Bravura Architects in the amount of $9,250. This is for additional structural engineering services provided by a subconsultant of theirs, Quest Consulting Engineers. This is value engineering on the foundations, the caisson designs, and also additional structural design issues with the tunnel that we're going to discuss later on in a change order for the construction contract. So those were the items primarily. This increases, I think their current, I'm not sure where their current contract is at. The initial amount was $370,000, so this is a $9,250 increase to their $370,000 contract. So we recommend approval of this increase.
And I would like to note that local Danvillian, David Onquist, apparently his cost is significantly less than anywhere in Lexington or Louisville. So we appreciate that, David.
I move for approval of Resolution 2021-01-2504.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Cardle, thank you.
I've been called worse.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Atkins, thank you. I knew he was coming in there somewhere. Any further discussion, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 14 is change order, Resolution 2021-01-25-05. This is change order number 2 for the fire station. Mr. Morgan.
Okay, this change order is related to the direct purchase order method that we're going with to purchase the materials for this project to save the sales tax on those materials. This will be the first of several of these that will come before you all. This is when the exact amount of the material is different than their initial number that they proposed to us in that change order number 1 to take them out. We will have to come reconcile that with another change order. So Earl and I discussed this the other day, the best way to explain this. So we have 2 changes here. They amount to an $8,257.38 increase to Barilla's contract. But at the same time, we are reducing the amount that we're spending on materials with direct purchase orders. So as we said in the change order handout that we gave you, it's an actual increase to our spending at this point of $466.97. Next time it could be a decrease. We don't know. We'll reconcile them as we go. We talked about doing them, spreading them out, but I think we'll probably see these maybe monthly because they need to be reconciled before Marilla can invoice us for them. Like we need to make sure we're on track with that they can invoice for correct amounts. So this is the first one of those. If you all have any questions, we'll try to explain that a little bit better way.
Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move for approval of, I'll make sure I'm on the right one here.
Number 5.
2021-01-2505.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Holland, thank you. Any further discussions or questions?
This sort of, I guess, lessens the amount of savings that we had estimated at the last meeting, from 120,000 to 119,000 plus.
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
If there are no further questions, Chair will call them for the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Resolution number 2021-01-25-06. This is a change order number 3 for the fire station. Mr. Morgan.
So yes, this is a change order related to the construction, the addition of a tunnel to the project connecting existing City Hall facility, police station facility to the new fire station. This was initially priced at $192,000. We asked them to go back and sharpen their pencils and see what they could do, and they reduced that number to $178,299. So this is their proposal for that change. We reviewed it, we've discussed it with the architect, we've discussed it with the structural engineer. We feel like this is a reasonable number, and that is a good opportunity if this is something the commission wishes to do. We've talked about it amongst ourselves as staff. We feel like it is something that will be useful to the facility in many different ways leading into the future. We can kind of get into more details of that with the fire chief if we'd like to. I think I talked to Nick. Nick just left, but I talked to Nick about it, and there's a lot of usefulness for him with IT. We were talking about security. We'll have server rooms on in both basements that they will be able to go back and forth between without coming up to the surface to walk between buildings. So there's usefulness for them, and it increases the functionality of both buildings for their life. So we recommend approval of this change order.
Do we hear a motion for that resolution?
I'll move for approval of Resolution 2021-01-2506.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. We are in discussion.
I wouldn't mind hearing from the chief on his thoughts on that particular item.
Both chiefs?
Commissioner Caldwell, at the end of the
There's
day.
another chief down there.
Go ahead,
Chief's here.
come on in. At the end of the day, for us, I mean, now's the time, if you're ever going to do it.
Yeah.
Once you get the buildings built, the ability to do it is nearly impossible. And so because the chiefs weren't necessarily involved as we went through the bid alternate discussion, we recommended to pause to it because we had a wide range of proposals with this alternate. And they varied from the $140,000 range, $30,000 range for one bidder up to maybe $400 for another. And so that we paused to evaluate that bid, and as we went through that, this was their resolution after they got some clarifying questions addressed. And so we'll turn it over to the chief.
And that makes sense to me, but I think the taxpayers are going to want to know some practical examples of how that would be beneficial.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Commissioners, good to see you. One of the big benefits we're looking into is in the future is going to be an emergency operations center in that basement that will help the citizens and also Boyle County residents as well. Could be natural disasters or anything, ice storms that we used them before, and that would be a really nice addition to come from City Hall to the Emergency Operations Center. And also in the future as well, there may be some other options, maybe with 911 centers or things of that nature as well. So it's going to be a really nice addition. We're excited about that new station, and we're excited about that basement, and it's going to be pretty cool. Josh, Mr. Morgan, he's also kept me in the loop with everything, and we talked about the basement tunnel, and I think it's a great addition. We're excited about it, the fire department.
Thank you.
So this was removed from the initial bid that we received because we wanted to stop and talk about it in the process.
That a little bit. We had a base bid, and this component was bid as an alternate, so
Right.
that we would understand the cost impact of this item alone. Because all the contractors that bid on the project bid on this with such a varying cost, we paused on recommending this component to be awarded, right? And so now we are asking this to be awarded now.
And
Keep
now,
reading.
what,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
now is the time to do it because,
Now or never?
well, it's one of those things that you'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Right.
And I always take into consideration what I call the zombie apocalypse of if we do have a major disaster of some sort, that is there to help our first responders, and have a safe place for them to go and to still be able to run the city and.
We're locking you out, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, Caudill's gonna lock me out. But the other thing that the other part of that is, I want to know if it will improve camaraderie, and make it easier
No.
for.
I'm just kidding. That was a quick
No,
trigger.
because you're gonna lock them out, right?
I
And
think
easier to interact.
It'll be more practical. I mean, for example, we got dispatch, and if it was something like that, we've got some kind of emergency or something like that, it's easier for those ladies that are already in the basement and stuff, and if they're over there, and we got some of our operational stuff down there, for us just to go right down through the tunnel underneath, there's no sense in us having to come up the steps, find whatever they're gonna build over here on top, when we can just go right from the bottom. You know, you're talking about moving equipment, sharing resources and things like that. It'll be a whole lot more efficient for us to use the tunnel underground than coming back up, even during like daytime business hours. You know, if we've got to move stuff, you know, we could do it down there in the tunnel and not interfere with the everyday going on with what's going on in City Hall and with the public.
Yes, by maintaining the tunnel, you could have normal operations up here and chaos down there, in other words.
Probably will be chaos down there.
It's like the Disney underworld, right?
Like a Disney underworld, that's right.
Well, on a more serious note, it shows that we've tabled something and allowed the first responders to have more input, those guys and ladies who will be using it on a more regular basis. The other thing that came to my mind is when I read this was by Ken there, don't shoot me. January the 6th came to my mind. When they come for Caudill and for Terry, we can take them to the tunnel. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's crazy, but just think about what would have happened if they had not had that expense of putting in
Right.
Correct.
that underground service area. So
Yes.
Well, I was going to say we could shuffle the mayor there in a time of emergency if we needed to.
the mayor and I are okay. It's you and Terry you and Caudill that's caused all the
Well, and I think we can all relate to, the ice storm that was now over 10 years ago, but still very fresh in our minds. And I think we just had the anniversary of that ice storm this week. And, it's just going to make things like that easier and more efficient for us to handle in the future.
Yeah. The possibility for more convenience and practical functionality makes so much more sense to have that feature, especially with where dispatch is and a connection between the fire department and some of our resources down there that we could share and would share in emergency. That would be so much more efficient than having to come upstairs and go back and forth that way.
Yeah, to me, it's almost as if it's a benefit of being next door rather than being across the street.
Yeah.
If we don't put this in, you might as well still be across the street because you got to go outside to get to each other. So I think it's a good deal myself.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 16 is Resolution 2021-01-25-07. Chief Gray, tell us about this highway safety grant application.
It's, Mayor's the application we've applied for since my whole career here. It's the federally funded highway traffic safety grant. Those different law enforcement initiatives for like Buckle Up, Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over, those initiatives, that's what this grant funds. It's an overtime grant. It's fully 100% funded through the grant program. There's no match or any offset to the city at all.
Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2021-012507 as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second, Commissioner Terry?
Second.
There he is. We're in discussion.
I like these kind.
It's a call grant,
Any
right?
discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Free money.
Resolution number 2021-01-25-08. This is an application for a gear extractor grant. Chief Simpson.
This is a no match. It's going to be a $10,000 grant for a new gear extractor for our new fire station from Kentucky Fire Commission. A gear extractor is a giant wash machine that you wash turnout gear in. So every time we have a structure fire, there's a lot of carcinogens on our gear. So you have to take it out of service and you have to wash them. And normally from 40 to 60 pound loads, what these gear extractors can do. Right now, our only gear extractor is in Station 2. So if we have a fire here, we got to go to Station 2 to wash our gear. So this will be a no-match grant for a gear extractor for our new station.
Does this cover the entire cost?
Yes, ma'am, it would.
Okay.
Is there a motion for the resolution?
2021-01-25-08.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe Commissioner Cottle got the second on that one.
That's all right. It's free tonight.
That's all right. Stay on deck.
I'll split it with you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Item 18 is resolution number 2021-01-25-09. This is another grant application for a thermal imaging camera. Chief?
Thermal imaging cameras are cameras that we use on our engines right now. Anytime we have structure fires or rescue operations, those cameras come off first thing. This is a non-matching grant for $3,200 from Kentucky Fire Commission, where if we're awarded, we'll receive a brand-new thermal imaging camera.
Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-012909.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. We're in discussion, if any.
Is this for rescue in a fire to find people or animals?
Yes, ma'am.
It is,
Mhm.
okay.
They come in various sizes. Right now, we have all of them on all of our SCBA's have thermal imaging cameras, but these are actually a little bit larger, where you utilize them in a smoky environment. Contrary to what you see on television, most of the structural firefighting, there's no visibility. So
Right.
television paints a really easy picture to do it, but it's really not. So this thermal imaging camera will really help us a lot, and we hope we can get these grants in to offset some of our costs.
Do you
Okay.
think that the fact that we're building a new station will help us get these grants? Or any way to know that, I guess? Or?
Yeah, I don't think that's probably not going to help us a whole lot because these are available to everyone.
Mhm.
But hopefully it
Can
would.
you
I mean, that'd be
beg?
really nice. Yeah, we still have to have equipment to go in that station, so
Right.
that's why we're trying to offset some of our costs with these grants and help us a little bit.
I like it.
Every little bit counts.
Exactly.
So.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 19 is Resolution 2021-01-25-10. This is an application for fire prevention grant. Continue, Chief.
This grant's for $1,000, non-matching, and we would utilize this for smoke detectors for our community. We'd also have a little marketing thing for our community as well. Right now, we're getting some smoke detectors from the Walmart Corporation. They're small, battery-powered, and they're about $6 or $7 a piece. So we're usually always looking for money to get those smoke detectors, and this $1,000 will go a long way for buying those for our community. And last year, I think we ended up putting in about over 100 smoke detectors for the community. COVID-19 situation stopped that a little bit, but we still give them out to the community. We just don't go to their homes and put them in unless there's absolutely a need for it.
So someone can call or come by and request
They sure
smoke
can. They can
detectors?
contact the fire department, 238-1211, 859-238-1211, and if there is a need for it, we'll get them smoke detectors. It's really important for every citizen to realize that's the most important thing you can have in your house early detection, get you out of your home and moving forward with it.
Is there a motion for the resolution?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2021-0125-10.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Commissioner Terry. We're in discussion, if any.
Great.
If not, Chair will call a question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 20 is resolution number 2021-01-25-11. Again, Mr. Simpson's racking it up with another grant application for turnout gear.
This is a non-matching $10,000 grant for turnout gear. Turnout gear is bunker pants, coats, helmets, boots, anything we desire for structural firefighting. So that's what that would entail, and that would help us purchase approximately 5 sets of gear, turnout gear.
Do you have to have at least 2 for every firefighter?
That's what we try to do. Right now, all of our full-time people do have 2 sets of gear.
Okay.
And that's what I was talking about when the gear extractor, when you have a structure fire, that set of turnout gear goes out of service till it's cleaned properly. Then they go get their second set to use on calls. So we've been very fortunate to have that. Most fire departments do not have that, so.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-0125-11 as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Your turn. Any further discussion?
I just want to thank Doug for working on all these grants, and will we receive a report if the grant is received?
Yes, ma'am. As soon as we find out, we'll let everybody know. And I'll just give a shout out to Deputy Chief Mulholland. He's our intern deputy chief right now. He's also been working a lot on the grants, and also the firefighters bring them to our attention. Scott Lawson, he's a firefighter. We got back with us. He brings a lot of these to our attention. He's also the chairman of the Kentucky Fire Commission, so it helps out to have a little help on the inside there to let us know about some of these grants we may not see all the time. So,
But Doug, the other
Good
thing
work.
is that, I'm sorry.
I said, it's a good work.
The other thing is that I think it's important you guys keep in front of us, but also keep in front of the public, how expensive it is to outfit our first responders in both departments. So
it's extremely
please keep doing
expensive
that,
to buy fire gear and turnout gear and SCBAs and fire trucks. You all know how expensive everything is. One more thing, just real quick. We do have a couple, probably about 10 hearing impaired smoke detectors left. If you know anybody in the community that may be hearing impaired and may want those, those come with a strobing light and they're electric, they're plug-in. So anybody that may have some type of impairment that may want to call the fire station, let us know if they need them.
You need a vote on that last one.
Thanks, Chief.
Did we vote? Did we vote?
We have not voted.
We
Do
did
I
not
hear a
vote.
motion?
got a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Call for the question.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Question called. Don't ask me these questions. You get me confused.
Well, I knew there was a motion second, but I didn't think we voted.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
I just wanted to make one quick comment while Doug is still here. I received a phone call last week that you all offered assistance to an older couple. I believe it was with their smoke alarms, possibly. I don't know. He called to specifically tell me to thank you all and that you all were very helpful and very informative. So, thank you.
Great.
Excellent. Item 21 is a logs discussion. Councilor Dexter.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is on the agenda after being tabled from the last meeting, and the request still remains that you authorize the filing of a declaration of rights action in Boyle Circuit Court to declare the city the rightful owner of the logs as abandoned by any other potential owner, and therefore allowing the city to declare them surplus and either transferring them to an public agency who can aid in their removal and use, or alternatively by auction to any willing bidder. We're not asking you to declare the manner of surplus tonight. We're asking you to simply allow an action to be filed to determine that the city is the owner of the logs, and then the next public conversation can ensue about how to dispose of them.
So we need This step is required regardless of what we do, pretty much.
It is, because right now, the ownership is questionable at best.
So do you
I'll
need
make that motion
Yeah.
to honor this request. And hopefully this will get the issue more publicized and somebody might come forward or somebody may not come forward. But yes, I think it's important that we do it. So I offer a motion to approve this request.
Are you asking for a motion?
I am.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion is second, Commissioner Terry? I have had, and will continue to have discussions with Boyle Fiscal Court in order to see if we can't secure a site on Constitution Square that would be appropriate for this structure, seeing how this is the one of, if not the first recorded structure in the community. Not many communities can say they still have that.
So in an effort to achieve that objective, I would say this step is readily even more necessary to achieve that goal. So if the city can proceed and have its rights adjudicated, then the city would be allowed to transfer those to the county immediately. And the county could use them as they deemed fit, which would be a wonderful resolution of the situation. However, what staff has indicated can't continue is the city to house critical public space for the storage of articles that may or may not be used, and that it may or may not own.
Stephen, for the public's benefit, would you give us a brief history about the age and location of where these items came from?
Sure. The log structure was discovered in the demolition of a residential structure on 3rd Street between Lexington Avenue and Broadway, on the opposite side of the street from the public library. And when that house was being demolished, the structure was discovered and demolition stopped, and the historic logs were dated to sometime pre-1800s. They are believed to be one of the first residential log structures in Danville, Boyle County, and there was a campaign initiated by the Heart of Danville called Save the Logs, by which money was raised for them to be removed from the site and preserved. That was conducted by the Heart of Danville, but a lot of people and entities donated funds for that cause. The Boyle Fiscal Court being one, the City of Danville being others, and a lot of just interested citizens contributed. The question is, did they contribute and gain ownership, or did they contribute to a cause that purchased them? And I don't know that, and no one knows that answer. That's the purpose of the action. The city agreed at the request of the Heart to store the logs. Since, I think it was around 2005, 6, 7, somewhere in that neighborhood. Is that correct? 8? Okay, somewhere in that range. So the city's been storing them for maybe as many as 12 years without any action on it. And Josh maybe have more historical knowledge of that than I do.
When you were
We
here?
did that when I was here before, so it was like I never left. That was one of those, I was like, y'all never, nothing changed. I came back, it was all the same. They're in a different spot than they were when I left 8 years ago, but they're still down there. I checked on them today. I mean, they're still there. As far as we know, they're still all there. It's a pretty good, sizable pile of logs, but they seem in good shape, dusty but dry, which is the important thing.
That's a
So
good
I think
thing,
they've been
sure.
well preserved while we've had them. So,
The-
yes,
the-
we definitely, especially if we, at some point we move forward with the renovation of that building, we really need to have them out of the way.
Well, and the ultimate goal was the community was going to find a way to reconstruct that building, and that's what
Correct.
really hadn't happened yet.
That's right.
And to
Certainly.
preserve it, and
Yeah.
piled in a storage building is not the way
No,
to
no,
preserve
that's right.
those.
It could be a great tourist attraction for our community, but going to be very expensive to
But this is the
do
first
that.
step
Huh?
to be able to do any of
No,
that.
we understand that. I'm just trying to get the history out there so anybody watching this that has a little bit of recollection about it might bring some
There is
discussion
a,
to the table.
the header beam, I think is what it was, that went across the front of the house is impressive. It's 40 feet long, probably, still intact, complete.
It's a big boy.
Notched out like they originally, it's an
Wow.
impressive piece, just that one log, so.
Yeah, and it's dead straight, clean,
Yes,
perfect
it's-
piece of
Wow.
timber.
This
I've-
is like
I've-
the engineer's dream, right?
Yes.
To put this back together?
Yeah.
I've moved those logs twice. I know it's there.
I grew up logging in eastern Kentucky, to be honest with you, and a 40-foot timber like that, dead straight, that looks like that's pretty rare in today's time. You know, that was an old piece of wood.
Mr. Atkins, you had something? Okay, that's great. Great. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I understand we have need for an executive session tonight.
And Mayor, if I may tell you one more item of business that's just under the legal section, and that is simply that I've been in contact with the county attorney on the preparation of an interlocal agreement for the formation of an industrial authority, and we are in the process of developing that agreement. And hope to have it to you for your next meeting, actually.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Reason for executive session?
Property acquisition and personnel.
Do I hear a motion to move into executive session for those reasons?
Mr. Terry Cochran's gonna make it.
Why are you looking at me?
It's all part of
You
it.
said personnel and property? I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 618101F, and also for potential real property acquisition for which publicity at present stage might or would be likely to affect the value per KRS 618101B.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second to her motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cottle. Discussion? Seeing none, we are in executive session.
The regular session?
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Cardle, second by Commissioner Terry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Coffin?
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners.
Executive session, sir.
We ask that you accept the letter of resignation of Casey Whittle from the position of police officer.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Wolf
Commissioner
regrets.
Terry, Commissioner Cardle, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Continue.
Thank you. We are asking and recommending that you hire Joshua Bradshaw as a police officer recruit for the city.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners Terry and Cardle. Dynamic duo. Keep it up.
That's right.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Staff is recommending the hiring of Jeremy Cook as police officer recruit for the city of Danville.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Terry Cardle. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Coffey?
No, sir. Thank you
I
all.
believe that ends our business for,
Move that we
Tonight?
adjourn. You do it. You make the motion.
You do it, yeah.
Yes.
Better make a motion to adjourn.
thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Cardle. Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Those
It is,
opposed?
it is 12 minutes after 9.